Hello students, let us come to the next topic, hypophysis cerebri, also known as pituitary gland. Hypophysis cerebri or the pituitary gland is a small endocrine gland situated in relation to the base of brain, and in the picture it is highlighted. So we can get the idea of location of the pituitary gland in our brain with the help of this picture. It is also known as master of endocrine orchestra because it produces a number of hormones which control the secretion of many other endocrine glands of the body. The gland lies in the hypophyseal fossa or sella turcica, part of the sphenoid bone. It is also known as pituitary fossa. Sella turcica means a depression in the sphenoid bone containing pituitary gland. It resembles to saddle of a horse. This sella turcica, it is covered by a circular fold of dura mater that is known as diaphragma sellae. Stalk of the pituitary gland, this area, it pierces the diaphragma sellae and get connected to the floor of third ventricle. Stalk means, pituitary stalk means a tubular structure in the upper part of the pituitary gland which connects the pituitary gland to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is present in the floor of the third ventricle. So this is the cavity of third ventricle, and this lower part is known as hypothalamus. Shape and size of the gland. Gland is oval in shape and its antero-posterior length is about 8 millimeters and side-to-side length or transverse length is about 12 millimeters. It weighs about 500 milligrams. Relations of the gland. First of all, superior relations are, the structures which are present superiorly are, first is diaphragma sellae, which is covering the gland superiorly and making the roof of this pituitary fossa. So in this area there is presence of diaphragma sellae. So it comes in superior relation to the gland. Second structure is optic chiasma. Optic chiasma is visible here, present superiorly to the gland. Then next is infundibular recess of the third ventricle. So this is the cavity of third ventricle. This part, this conical downward projecting part of the third ventricle is known as infundibular recess because this upper tubular part of the pituitary gland is known as infundibulum. So the part of third ventricular cavity which is projecting towards the infundibulum of pituitary gland, it is known as infundibular recess. So it is present superior to the gland. Tuber cinereum also comes in its superior relations. Tuber cinereum is an eminence in the middle situated between optic chiasma and mammillary body. So it may also be included in the stalk of the pituitary gland. Inferior relations are two layers of the dura mater. The layer of dura mater which is in close touch with the sphenoid bone, that is the endostele layer, and the layer which is towards the pituitary gland, that is the meningeal layer. Between these two layers we can see here the irregular venous channels. So these irregular venous channels and the two layers of the dura mater, these lies inferior to the pituitary gland. Then hypophyseal fossa or the pituitary fossa formed by this deep part of the sphenoid bone. And third is the sphenoidal air sinuses. These are also present inferior to the pituitary gland. On both sides there is presence of cavernous sinus and their contents. Then subdivisions. Pituitary gland is having two main parts, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is visible in somewhat brown, dark brown color, and neurohypophysis is visible in somewhat light color area. Both these parts are having different structure, function, and different embryological origin. Adenohypophysis is having three parts: anterior lobe, also known as pars anterior, pars distalis, or pars glandularis. This is the largest part of the gland. Second part is pars intermedia or intermediate lobe. This is in the form of a thin strip which is separated from anterior lobe by the presence of an intraglandular cleft. So this intraglandular cleft separates the pars anterior from pars intermedia. Third part is tuberal lobe or pars tuberalis. So it is somewhat upward extension of the anterior lobe that surrounds and forms some part of the infundibulum also. Second part of the gland is known as neurohypophysis. It is further having three parts. First is pars posterior or posterior lobe, also known as neural lobe. It is smaller as compared to the anterior lobe. Posterior lobe lies in the concavity of the anterior lobe. So we can see in this area there is a concave part of large anterior lobe. So posterior lobe occupies that concavity or lies in the concavity. Then infundibular stem or simply infundibulum. This part contains the neural connections between the posterior lobe and the hypothalamus. So this is the area of the hypothalamus. Between this posterior part and hypothalamus there are neural connections, means nerve fibers extend from hypothalamus to posterior lobe. So infundibulum contain that nerve fibers. Third part is median eminence. Median eminence is produced by tuber cinereum. It is continuous with the infundibular stem or infundibulum. So this part is in continuation with this infundibulum. Upper part of pars tuberalis, infundibulum, and lower part of the median eminence, these constitutes the stalk of the pituitary gland. Embryology or development of the pituitary gland. So before discussing about the development of pituitary gland, we have to review some basics of the embryology. As we have already discussed or studied that there occur development of three germ layers within the embryo, and from these three germ layers all the organs and viscera of human body or embryo develop. So in this diagram we can find out certain special structures that have developed from where some important organs of the embryo develop. Like we can see here this enlarged area, this is the neural tube. This is the formation of neural tube has taken place, which give rise to brain and spinal cord of the embryo. Below it lies the notochord. So these two structures develop from the ectoderm layer. Then next, below this neural tube we can find out another enlargement in this area. This is the enlargement due to development of heart tubes and the cavity, that pericardial cavity that surrounds the heart. Heart develops from intraembryonic splanchnopluric mesoderm, and heart tube develop from the intraembryonic coelom. Third structure which is prominently visible in this diagram is the midgut, which is lined by this brown color, which is visible in this brown color. So this is the primitive gut from where develops the intestine. So within the developing embryo, towards the cranial part or head part of the developing embryo, we can see two enlargements. One is produced because of the neural tube, and second enlargement is because of the developing heart and pericardium. Between these two enlargements, here we can see a depression. This is the area of procaudal plate, or it is the area of the future mouth. It is also known as stomatodium, and it is lined by buccopharyngeal membrane. So ectoderm layer is forming here two structures. One is the neural tube, and second is this stomatodium area, means buccal cavity is lined by the epithelium that is derived from ectoderm. Now let us come to the development of pituitary gland. Development of anterior lobe and posterior lobe of pituitary gland take place in different manner. This diagram helps in understanding the development of pituitary gland. So in this diagram, first of all, we come to know about certain structures which are shown. So this diagram is showing the oral ectoderm, means both the layers are of ectoderm. The ectoderm layer which is present towards the buccal cavity or stomatodium, that is known as oral ectoderm, and the ectoderm layer which is present towards the brain, enlargement of the brain, that is known as the neuronal ectoderm. Development of pituitary gland, it begins at the age of 4th week of intrauterine life. So this diagram suggests us the initial stages in the development of the pituitary gland. So in this diagram we can see the oral ectoderm which is lining the buccal cavity. Towards the roof of the buccal cavity, some part of the oral ectoderm, it begins to form hypophyseal placode, or it is in the form of a diverticulum which begins to develop towards the brain. So this hypophyseal placode, it gives rise to Rathke's pouch. It is an upward extension of the epithelium of oral cavity towards the brain. This is the beginning of development of the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. At the same time, a downward extension of the diencephalon, it extends downwards in the form of an infundibular process. So this downward extension, it forms the posterior lobe. So this is the beginning of formation of posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. This is the next step when the Rathke's pouch and this infundibular recess both are growing and increasing in their size. We can also see the cavity of the Rathke's pouch, means lumen of the or free space present within the Rathke's pouch, but no any such lumen is present in the infundibular process. Next, the Rathke's pouch in its lower part. So this is the lower part of Rathke's pouch. The lower part or base of this Rathke's pouch, it gets constricted and it gets separated from the oral epithelium. This pink color structure is the oral epithelium. So this is separated from the oral epithelium. So this event take place at the age of 6 to 8 weeks of intrauterine life. The cells of anterior wall of the Rathke's pouch, these undergo extensive proliferation and give rise to large anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. The cells in the posterior wall of Rathke's pouch, these proliferate slowly and forms an intermediate lobe. This lobe is vestigial in case of human beings. So in this way, these three lobes come closer and give rise to a composite pituitary gland. The cleft present between this white portion area, this is the cleft present between the anterior lobe and the intermediate lobe, and it suggests the remaining part of lumen of Rathke's pouch. So in this way, adenohypophyses develop as an upward extension from the ectodermal roof of stomatodium by Rathke's pouch, and neurohypophyses develop as a downward extension from the floor of diencephalon. This is floor of diencephalon, or here we can say lies the third ventricle, and in the lower part this is the area of location of the hypothalamus. So this posterior lobe is connected to the hypothalamus with the help of neural connections or neural pathways or nerve fibers. Intermediate lobe is also a part of the anterior lobe, which grows slowly and gets separated from the anterior lobe by the presence of this cleft, that is the lumen of Rathke's pouch. Cell patterning and terminal differentiation occur within the anterior lobe to form 5 principal specialized endocrine cells which secrete different type of hormones within the pituitary gland. Blood supply of pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is supplied by branches of internal carotid artery. One is superior hypophyseal artery and another is the inferior hypophyseal artery. One superior hypophyseal artery is present towards the right side, and in the same manner one is present towards the left side, and inferior hypophyseal artery is present one towards the right side and one towards the left side. Each superior hypophyseal artery supplies anterior part or ventral part of hypothalamus, upper part of infundibulum, and for lower part of infundibulum it gives one separate branch known as trabecular artery. So this is the trabecular artery arising from superior hypophyseal and supplies the lower part of the infundibulum. Each inferior hypophyseal artery divides into medial branch and lateral branch and join with one another to form an arterial ring around the posterior lobe. Branches from this ring supplies the posterior lobe itself and also anastomose with the branches of the superior hypophyseal artery. Anterior lobe or pars distalis is supplied by portal vessels which arises from capillary ducts which are formed by superior hypophyseal arteries. Hypophyseal portal system is a system constituted by long portal veins and short portal veins present in this area. It is a system of blood vessels which connect the hypothalamus with the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Its main function is to quickly transport and exchange hormones between the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. Hypothalamic nuclei which are present close to median eminence, these releases the peptides, and these peptides are transported to the anterior pituitary where they apply their effect or show their effect. Superior hypophyseal artery, it forms a primary capillary plexus near the median eminence which supplies blood to the median eminence. From this capillary system or capillary plexus, blood is drained in portal veins into the secondary plexus which form here. The peptides released in the median eminence enter the primary plexus capillaries, and from there they are transported to the anterior pituitary via hypophyseal portal veins to the secondary plexus which is present in this area. Secondary plexus is a network of fenestrated sinusoid capillaries. Fenestrated means having multiple openings or various branches. These sinusoid capillary supplies blood to the anterior pituitary. The cells of the anterior pituitary is having specific receptors that combine with the peptides, and a cascade or series of reaction take place that produces the release of anterior pituitary hormones. So the function of long portal vessels is to drain the peptides from the median eminence and also from upper part of the infundibulum, and of the short portal vessels drains the lower part of the infundibulum. So this portal system plays a very much important role in carrying the peptide from this hypothalamus to the anterior pituitary, which is responsible for release of hormones of the anterior pituitary. This portal system is a network of veins which are draining the peptides. These peptides are also known as hormone releasing factors, and these include gonadotropin releasing hormone, corticotropin releasing hormone, growth hormone releasing hormone, and thyrotropin releasing hormone. Next comes to venous drainage of pituitary gland. The area of median eminence and upper part of infundibulum, it is drained by long portal vessels, and lower part of infundibulum is drained by short portal vessels. These long portal and small portal vessels, these joins the capillary bed present in the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. In the lower part of gland, there is presence of large number of small veins which are emerging at the surface of the gland. These veins are drained into nearby venous sinuses, especially the cavernous sinus. These veins carry the hormones of pituitary gland to their target cells or organs. Histology of pituitary gland. First of all comes to anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So this is the structure showing anterior lobe of pituitary gland, in which 50% chromophilic cells and 50% of the chromophobic cells are there. So what is the meaning of chromophilic? Chromophilic means those cells which readily get stained with the dyes. So which react with the dye immediately, such type of cells are known as chromophilic cells, and chromophobic cells are which do not stain rapidly and appear relatively pale under the microscope. Out of chromophilic cells, 43% are acidophils or alpha cells, and only 7% are basophils or beta cells. So here in the diagram we can see these are acidophil cells which appear dark pink in color. These are larger in number, about 43%, and other are the basophil cells which appear having granules within them. So basophil cells constitute only 7% of the chromophilic cells, and third number are the chromophobe cells. Chromophobic cells are these cells which appear relatively light in color because these do not react with the stain immediately, and these appear lighter under the microscope. Acidophil cells include somatotrophs which secrete growth hormone and mammotrophs which secrete prolactin. Basophil cells include thyrotrophs which secrete thyroid stimulating hormone, corticotrophs which secrete ACTH, adrenocorticotrophic hormone, and gonadotrophs which secrete follicular stimulating hormone, and luteotrophs which secrete luteinizing hormone. Chromophobic cells are precursor of these cell types, and these are in non-secretory phase. Intermediate lobe is made up of numerous basophilic cells and the chromophobe cells. Basophilic cells secrete the melanocyte stimulating hormone or MSH. Then posterior lobe. Posterior lobe consists of a large number of non-myelinated nerve fibers that constitutes the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, and also modified neurological cells called pituitiocytes. The dendrites of pituitiocytes terminate on or near the sinusoids. So these small cavities are known as sinusoids. On these sinusoids terminate the dendrites or dendrons of the pituitiocytes. Next comes to hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. So about this topic we have also discussed in the blood supply of pituitary gland. Hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract begins in the supraoptic or preoptic and paraventricular nuclei of hypothalamus. So in the diagram we can see this is optic chiasma, and here we can see nuclei present above this optic chiasma. This is the area of supraoptic nuclei, and this is the area, this is the ventral aspect of hypothalamus. So nuclei which are present in this area, these are known as paraventricular nuclei, and the tract is known as hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Means this tract connects the hypothalamus with the hypophysis cerebri or the pituitary gland. So this is a neurosecretory tract, means it is made up of nerve fibers which are visible here in yellow color. These fibers extends from supraoptic and paraventricular nucleus of hypothalamus to posterior and anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. It's short fibers. So these fibers are short fibers arising from this paraventricular nucleus and terminate in relation to the capillary tuft of portal vessels. It indicates that the secretory activity of anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, it is under the neural control of hypothalamus. The long fibers passes from supraoptic nuclei to the posterior lobe and terminate near the vascular sinusoids. Vascular sinusoids means capillaries of the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. So in the wall of the capillaries, these nerve fibers, these end. Hormones related to posterior lobe are vasopressin and oxytocin. Vasopressin, also known as ADH, antidiuretic hormone, it acts on the renal tubules, and oxytocin hormone promotes the contraction of smooth muscles present in the uterus and the mammary gland. It is considered that actually these hormones are secreted by the hypothalamus, from where these are transported through this hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract to the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Applied anatomy related to pituitary gland. Pituitary tumors are known as pituitary gland adenomas. These are of common occurrence. Pituitary tumor give rise to two types of symptoms, general symptoms and specific symptoms. General symptoms arise due to pressure of enlarged pituitary gland over the surrounding structures. So first structure which is affected initially because of the tumor formation within the pituitary gland, that is sella turcica, in which the pituitary gland is present or lodged. So because of increase in the size of pituitary gland, it produces pressure effect on the sella turcica, and sella turcica is enlarged in size. Second structure that is closely related to this pituitary gland is optic chiasma. So central part of optic chiasma, it get affected by the pressure exerted by enlarged pituitary gland. This causes bitemporal hemianopia. Bitemporal hemianopia is a condition of partial blindness where vision is missing in the outer half of both the right and left visual fields. Means the patient is not able to see the object placed in right and left lateral sides. Means if we consider this diagram, patient can see only the central part of this diagram and can't able to see the lateral sides. This part is not visible and this part is also not visible to the patient. Pressure by tumor on the hypothalamus may cause hypothalamic syndromes. Damage to hypothalamus may cause disturbances or imbalance in body temperature regulation, growth, weight, sodium and water balance, milk production, emotions and sleep cycles. If the tumor further increases in size, it may reach in the cavity of the third ventricle. So hypothalamus is present in the floor of the third ventricle. Above it, this hole is the cavity of third ventricle. So increasing tumor when reaches the third ventricle, it affects the pressure of CSF. So it causes increase in intracranial pressure to blockage in the flow of CSF. Specific symptoms include symptoms which arise due to tumor of specific type of cells of the pituitary gland, like tumor of acidophil or eosinophil cells, that is known as acidophil adenoma. It causes acromegaly in case of adults and gigantism in case of young patients. Tumor of acidophil cells secrete more growth hormone, which is responsible for more growth of the body. So here this is the example of an acromegalic patient, means it is an adult person in which more growth hormone causes increased growth of the human body. And if the condition occur in young persons, the condition is known as gigantism. Basophil adenoma produces Cushing syndrome, means basophil cells desecrete more levels of cortisol, which produces Cushing syndrome. This syndrome is characterized by upper body obesity with thin arm and legs, buffalo hump, and then red round face. Chromophobe adenoma leads to hypopituitarism. Pituitary glands secrete a large number of hormones, so decreased level of these hormones produce various effects in the human body. In the diagram, various organs and glands are shown which, under the control of the pituitary gland, perform their normal functions. So decreased secretion from the pituitary gland leads to a decrease in the functioning of these glands and produces various symptoms, like growth hormone acts on the bones and muscles of the body and help in proper growth of the human body. So in cases where growth hormone is released less from the pituitary gland, it leads to deficient development of bone and muscles, and stunted growth in children leads to a condition of dwarfism. Thyroid stimulating hormone, if released less, it acts less on the thyroid gland, leads to a condition known as hypothyroidism. Luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone acts in case of females over the uterus and ovaries, and in case of male act on the testes. So in case of females, these decreased level of these two hormones leads to oligomenorrhea or amenorrhea, and the condition of sterility may also arises. ACTH hormone act on the adrenal glands, so decrease in ACTH level leads to adrenal insufficiency, and the symptoms arises are fatigue, weight loss, delayed puberty, etc. Prolactin hormone, it acts on the mammary gland. Its role is in breastfeeding. So inability to breastfeed indicates low level of prolactin hormone. Posterior lobe damage causes diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus is a condition when ADH hormone, it get decreased in level, ADH means anti-diuretic hormone. So when this hormone is decreased, it leads to more urination known as diuresis, and patient complains of increased urination and frequent urination. The causative factor in such cases do not lies in the posterior lobe, but it actually lies in the hypothalamus. So damage to neurosecretory tract or the nuclei present in the hypothalamus, which are the part of this neurosecretory tract, leads to the condition of diabetes insipidus.